G'day, Michael Young here for this week's video blog. One thing I like to do as a business owner and entrepreneur is spend a lot of time basically reading books, finding out new things, learning new ideas and concepts. So what I do is I subscribe to a whole pile of different emails, different email newsletters. I'm a bit of a fan of the regular emails from McKinsey, BCG and so on. And there's also a number of others I tend to subscribe to, particularly in the marketing space as well. So Digital Marketer, the regular email blog that is put out by Neil Patel, and also James Tuckerman, who's an Australian guy who does some great stuff as well. Now recently I was just reading this fantastic book, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And what's really interesting about this book is that he covers a number of key concepts, and fundamentally what he's focused on is how do you as an organisation develop new products, and how do you go from sort of zero to a multi-million-dollar business in a reasonable period of time, but do it in a way that's actually sustainable and not going to create a whole pile of headaches. Now, one of the core tenets of this book is he talks about how organisations generally go about the whole product development process completely wrong. In fact, they go about it in a completely back to front kind of manner. Quite often what happens is they follow the build it and they will come type model, which is we have this sort of great idea and we think, yeah, fantastic idea, I'm just going to go out and build this product or service, and you then sort of hope and pray that effectively someone's going to like it and want it and pay for it. And the problem that often happens there is that we go through the process, we spend weeks or months or possibly even years, we spend a whole pile of time, effort and money, and we develop a product which quite often is actually irrelevant, not of interest, not of value, and the net result is, despite all of that significant investment, you end up generating next to no revenue whatsoever. What Eric speaks about in this particular book is that we actually need to change that round, and effectively what we do is we need to develop the marketing, and we need to develop the value proposition and effectively a brochure for the product itself, and then we go out to the market and test it. And effectively what we're trying to do is to sort of say, hey, we're developing this new product and this is going to be coming soon. You can pre-order it now, or you can make some sort of commitment now. And so the premise is that if you actually put that out there and there's something of interest and something of value to people, and they're happy to either pay for it up front or pre-order or so on, and part with some money, generally that's going to be a really good indication as to whether it's something of value or something of interest. If you find through that process that you don't get any pre-orders or you get very few pre-sales, then the net result is that it obviously is not going to fly. Now, part of it may well be that the product's not actually solving a problem, or the product's not actually hitting the right target audience or target market, or maybe even you've got some issues with your marketing or copywriting, and so it hasn't really resonated or generated a great level of interest. Maybe even the market's just too small, but effectively through that kind of process, what the book really sort of talks about is testing those sort of underlying assumptions. Now, there's two key assumptions that we're testing here. The first one is the value assumption, and that is this product or service we're trying to sell, we're about to put out to the market, something of value to people sufficiently that they're going to see it of value and they're going to part with some money. If we find, or we have assumptions, or we think it's going to basically do something or solve a particular problem, but we haven't actually tested that, and when we do test it we find it doesn't really solve that problem, well, once again we find that we've actually got a market misfit or a product fail there. The other one that we are testing too is the growth hypothesis, the growth assumption. Often what we assume or hypothesize is that if we put this out into the market, it's going to hit the mark, and we're going to find that the market's incredibly large, and all of these orders will just start flooding in. Now, the thing is that we may identify the fact that the market isn't big enough, maybe the problem's not compelling enough to solve, and as a result of that, we only get 3 or 4 bytes or interests. And as a result of that, what we can show is that, or prove, is that there's actually an insufficient size in that market, and therefore, if we expect to spend, and I'm just picking a random number here, $50,000 to develop a product or service and make it absolutely, a really fantastic solution, but we find there's only going to be 5 buyers of that product, well, that's a waste of time. There's no point actually spending the time and effort. Now, the interesting thing is that whilst you might have taken a little bit of money up front, it's always far easier to actually turn around and refund the money to that very small group of people. And it's a really easy narrative, really easy story there. You can just say that we did some initial market testing, and we've identified that that it's not going to work or not going to fly or doesn't really solve the problem. Here's a refund, and here's your money back. And so you're better off actually taking that approach rather than doing the whole Field of Dreams approach, which is build it and they will come, because more often than not, they actually don't come. So thanks again for listening and watching. If you've got any questions, please post them. I'm very interested and keen to hear if there's any particular topics you want me to speak about. And if there is, feel free to reach out. Also, I'm keen to get you to share these blogs, and also like what you like, and provide some comments there as well. So feel free to reach out and pass on these videos to anyone else you think might be interested. So that's it for me for this week, and we shall catch you out on the web in the next week. Cheers.